everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm T for those of you who don't know me, and this is my channel, Crumpets Tea and Sewing. All right, so today I'm going to be doing a pattern review of some sewing makes that I just recently made. Well, one of the makes I made this garment here in the back of me. I made that in August, and that was for the Minerva Craft project that I did for that month. So I'll tell you more about that and my participation in the Minerva Makers team and what I did. I'll give you a review of the pattern that I use and all of that. But first, I want to go ahead and start with the dress that I have on. And this dress is made with the McCall's M7991. So it's this pattern right here. And this is an easy to sew pattern, and it's designed specifically for beginners. So any sewist at any skill level can sew this. It's a really great pattern for beginners, truly. It gives recommendations on the back, as do all commercial patterns, on the type of fabrics that you can use for this project. And I would definitely say for beginners, pay particular attention to those types of fabrics, because if you've never worked with knits before, you are definitely going to want to choose something that's on this list, or something that is very, very similar to the fabrics that they suggest back here. Although you're not using any kind of closures like buttons or zippers or anything like that, because you're working with the knit fabric, some knits tend to be more slippery than others, or it takes a little bit more work. So I would definitely say stick to the fabric choices that they have listed back here, because they are excellent fabric choices. All right, so this pattern comes with 3 different variations. The first variation, view A, is a faux wrap dress. So it has a faux wrap for the bodice portion of the dress, no sleeves, and it has a circle skirt. So you are going to be cutting your skirt on the bias. So make sure you have enough fabric for that. I used the skirt out of version B, but I did version C. But let me tell you about version B before I tell you about the combo that I used. So version B is also a faux wrap at the top of the bodice, and then you have inset sleeves. You have a band that goes around the neck. You also have a band that goes around the neck of view A as well. I forgot to mention that. But the difference between view A and view B is the skirt. So for view B, you have a skirt, and that skirt, that long pencil type skirt, it falls a little bit below the knee. So instead of having a circle skirt, you have a skirt that looks like a pencil skirt. For view C, which is the view that the model is wearing, the sleeves are very different than view B. So instead of doing inset sleeves, you have dome sleeves, and those sleeves they're already attached to the bodice of the garment, so you don't have to worry about adding the sleeves to the garments. It also has a band that goes around the neck, and it also has a very close fitting slim skirt that is similar to a pencil skirt. However, with the skirt on view C, it is shorter than view B, and so it falls a little bit above the knee, as you see indicated here, how the model is wearing it. So overall, I really did enjoy this pattern. Like I said before, I did a combination of views B and C. So I did the dome sleeves, so the faux wrap with the dome sleeves, so that was view C, but my skirt was view B, which was a longer skirt. Before I made the garment that I have on, I made a mock-up, and I'll put a picture here so you can see what that mock-up looks like. That fabric I purchased from Walmart for like $1 a yard, and so I was not really concerned with whether or not it was going to come out. I just wanted to make sure that that the fit was going to be right. And I also wanted to particularly make sure that the fit was going to be right, since I was working with a sweater type knit of sorts. So this knit that I have, I purchased from Hobby Lobby, the one that I'm wearing, this leopard print. It's kind of a cross between a sweater knit and a jersey knit. And so it's really soft. It has a soft feel on the top as well as on the back side of the garment. So on the front of the garment, on the right side of the fabric, is very soft, as well as on the inside, which is the back side of the fabric, really soft. So for the, because View C has like cuffs, like a band at the bottom of the sleeve, I decided to do a contrast. So my contrast is on the sleeve as well as on the band, as you see here, going down the center. Well, it's not really a center front because it wraps, but going down the length of the bodice, it does have this contrast on it. And I wanted to do that to kind of break it up so that you can actually see what was going on, and to add some detail too. So contrast is always a really nice way, a really nice simple way to spice up your garment. And so that's basically what I wanted to do with it. For the fabric choices, I did talk a little bit about that, but I didn't tell you what they are. So for this pattern, the recommendations are that you have 35% stretch on your cross grain. It calls for cotton knits, interlock knits, ribbed knits, and sweater knits. So there's only one envelope and for sizes, and those sizes go from a small to an extra large. So in numbers, that is going to be from an 8 to a 22. So my first for the mock-up, I chose a medium, which was roughly, so looking on the back of the envelope, it says between a size 12 and 14. I believe it was like a size 38-inch for the bust. I cannot remember. I'll make sure that I put all those details inside this video, so that way you'll know. But this, I know for certain, those measurements did not work for me. It was very loose fitting. With the mock-up, I selected a size medium, like I said, and then with the final garment, I selected a size small because I found that the medium was still a little bit too loose fitting, especially in the arm area. And that was a little bit surprising to me, kind of surprising to me, because my arms are I always need to go up a size for my arms. But since it was a dolman sleeve, I wasn't as surprised by it. For the final garment, as I mentioned before, I selected a size small, but that small still was a little bit too big. So I definitely would go down to an extra small next time. And I think that the extra small would actually fit a lot better on me. So the garment is elasticized. However, I omitted that and I decided not to include the elastic in the waist. This also played a role into how the garment was a little bit big on me, but I did take that into account, and I made sure that I took some of that extra fabric out because I didn't want to put the elastic in the waistline, especially for my mock-up. But for my final garment, I made sure that it was, you know, it was great and it didn't have all that extra fabric, so that I didn't have to put the elastic in the waistline, because I don't really like putting elastics in the waistline. And it worked out pretty well because it's a sweater knit and it doesn't really need the elastic, and it didn't need the support either. So I really like the way in which it turned out, and I'm hoping to make another one. Probably not soon, but eventually I would like to make another one, It's, like I said, very simple, very easy. I made both the mock-up and the final garment all in one day. That's how easy it was. I think that's it. Yeah, that is it for this particular project. It was simple, easy. I highly recommend it. All right, so for the project that I made for the Minerva Makers team, I use Simplicity 5265, which is this vintage 1980s dress. It has two views, as you see here. View one is the dress that has no sleeves and a short skirt, and view two is the dress that has sleeves with a very long maxi dress. When I picked this pattern up, I didn't really intend on using like a chiffon or anything with it. I think my experience with this particular pattern, using it with a chiffon, 5 yards of a chiffon, was a little bit daunting at the time, because for those of you who have worked with chiffons before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you've worked with more than 1 yard of chiffon, then you know how tedious and how difficult it could be to work with the fabric, because you have to make sure you take special care to make sure that your cuts are right and, you know, things like that. So I think that was probably the most frustrating part about the whole process, is working with the chiffon. Not working with chiffon, but working with so many yards of chiffon. 5 yards of chiffon was just quite a bit for this project, because it has, you know, this fluid drapey skirt that I mean, it's really beautiful, and I really like the skirt and the details and everything, but like I said, it was a bit much working with it. I did make a few alterations to the pattern. I didn't really like the back neckline, because the way in which the neckline is supposed to be sewn onto the garment is, it has like its own facing on the side, on the underside of the garment, and it wraps around the back of the neck, and you're supposed to do like a center seam on those facings, create a center seam, a center back seam on those facings, and then attach it to the back of your garment, and then wrap it around to sew it in place at the V-shaped neckline. It's really hard to explain here. I'll take out the instructions and lay it on the table so you can see what I'm talking about. There were points where I had to do some seam ripping, and that's another thing. Seam ripping on chiffon is just like a huge task there, because you have to make sure that you are really careful not to grab any of the threads that's in the fabric while you're trying to seam rip the actual threads that you put in place on the fabric. So that was a little bit of a daunting task, and I ended up snagging the chiffon a couple times, which because this is a really thin, lightweight chiffon, I ended up getting a few runs, especially on that self-facing that I was talking about. And so that piece is no longer on my garment. I ended up cutting that off, and I just created a lining for the bodice. Instead of having a self-facing, I created a lining for the bodice because I had a little bit of extra fabric left. I could do that. So I created a lining for the bodice, and I lined the bodice and also finished the edges of the bodice with that lining instead of using that self-facing. The skirt is very simple, very easy. The waist is elasticized. I did put elastic in this waist because it was really, really full, and that was the look and the nature of the garment. And so I just went ahead and put the the elastic inside the waist. I actually like it on this garment too. It's because of the type of fabric. I think that the gathers from the elastic complements that. And so that's one of the reasons why I kept that. The front of the garment, to me, where the V-neck is, it just looked a little bit plain to me. So I decided to put just a bow there. Originally, I wanted to sew like a pussy bow tie on it, but I didn't really have a lot of fabric for that. So I decided to just leave it this way. And for the skirt, I didn't have enough fabric to do a skirt lining with this because the skirt is so full and it took so much fabric. I just didn't have enough. And so I had to create my own lining for the garment. It's not attached to the garment. It's just a separate lining skirt that I created that has an elastic band at the top of the waist. And I just slip it on and then I put my dress on, and that lining is underneath of my garment. At first I thought that it would be a little bit much having the elastic on my waist and then elastic inside the waist of the skirt as well. But that elastic sits on my hips, whereas this elastic sits at my natural waist. And so you really can't tell that they are separate, that the skirt and the underlining are separate. And so I really like it. It's really fun. I have pictures. I'll show you the pictures. It has a lot of movement, and I think that's what I really love about it. I also like the fact that the color scheme, oh my goodness, the colors are so beautiful. And I know that this camera is not doing this piece any justice, but the colors are just so amazing. And I feel like you can wear this garment through spring, summer, and fall. It truly is a wonderful piece. And it's a piece that I can see someone wearing all three of those seasons because of the color scheme. As far as the pattern, I definitely would sew it again. The only thing I didn't like about the pattern, like I mentioned before, is the self-facing and how you have to sew that that self-piecing at the back, at the center back. But other than that, I like the pattern. It's really nice. It's comfortable. It's an easy pattern. I would definitely say it's for beginners. Unfortunately, it is out of print because it's a 1980s pattern. So you may be able to find it on eBay or Etsy, but you might, it may not be something that you can find. But I'm pretty sure, because they do a lot of reproductions, like even though it might not have the same cover, I'm sure you can probably find something that is quite comparable in the Simplicity collection today. So this pattern calls for fabrics such as crepe types, crepe de chine, silk and silky types, challis, and some soft cottons. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It is a pullover dress. Oh, it doesn't have any closures, like any buttons or zippers or anything like that, because it's a pullover and it has the elastic in the waist. So yeah, that's pretty much my review. Oh, as far as the sleeves go, because I chose the option with sleeves, it's just a long sleeve. It flares out as it goes down to the bottom of the wrist. And it has, you're supposed to create a channel at the very end near your wrist and put elastic in it. And so the sleeves have elastic in the sleeves as well. So yeah, again, only alterations I did was to that neckline, and I added the bow. So yeah, I really enjoyed these projects. All right, so thank you so much for tuning into the channel. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. Please leave me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. And also, if you are new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and also hit that notification bell so that you can receive future notifications of my videos. All right, so don't forget to like this video if you found it enjoyable and you liked it. And I hope to talk to you all in the next video. Stay creative.